But as people are joining, I'm just very happy to welcome everyone to Change for Good. It's May 28th. It's 11 o'clock here in Toronto. And today I have the super great pleasure of speaking with Markus Lux, Markus is the Senior Vice President of Active Citizenship at Robert Bosch Stiftung in Germany. And Robert Bosch is, I believe I'm correct in saying, one of the largest foundations associated with a private company in Europe. Is that fair to say?
At least in Germany, yeah. I think in European scale, we are mid-range, yeah.
Okay, and so we welcome Markus, and Markus and I have had the great pleasure of speaking on and off over a number of years, but it's particularly great to speak with you here today because, we created Change for Good about 10 weeks ago or so as a place of conversation, of inspiration and of community for people around the world who are involved in social change. And we do that by sharing what folks like you, Markus, are experiencing, thinking, and doing in the context of this crisis. And I was also thinking, Markus and I had the chance to speak before we'd even thought about doing Change for Good. You and I spoke, I think it was in February. Mm-hmm. And I would say it's clear that we both seriously underestimated where this was all going, wouldn't you say? I don't think we had a clue. But anyway, it was such a pleasure to have you here today. And I just wanted to say to everybody, welcome everyone who's here today, and remind you all that it's not just a conversation with Markus and me. It's for everyone here as well. So I really encourage everyone to share their questions, any comments, and we'll do our best to get to as many as we can in the 30 minutes that we have. So Markus, just to start out, I thought they would all be super interested in you painting a picture for us of what life is like for you today. Of course, you're not in the office there at Robert Bosch. You're working at home. Tell us how that's all going. What's happening there?
So yeah, first of all, Paul, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to join you. It's a pleasure to be at least virtual in Canada. I miss very much my regular trips to Toronto and to Canada, and at least so this is nice to be with you. And as you might could see, I'm back in office. So yeah, we try to go back to normality with masks on the corridors and special seatings, but since last week I'm back in office, which is really nice. Yeah, it was 9 or 10 weeks at home, working remotely. Actually, I expected to be more difficult for me, but it was fine. Of course, it is a kind of a loss of privacy. You give other people day and night through all the video calls an insight in your living room. Yeah, and you see their living rooms, and a nice experience I made really was that a famous Swedish furniture shop, I won't name it, you could find the shelves almost in every living room of my colleagues and the partners. It was really nice. It is democratic furniture, maybe in a way.
Yeah.
For the team, I think it was a bit more difficult because of the uncertainty we all feel at the beginning, and not only at the beginning, and also maybe a bit the role for me in leading the team changed, at least for the first weeks. The level of self-organization in our teams here in the Bosch Foundation is extremely high. And actually, as a team leader or a head of a department, I feel more like a companion. But in the first days, I was back a manager to organize the technical stuff and all these things.
Sure. Yeah.
And then when uncertainty came up and we had to admit that it won't be over in 2 days or 2 weeks, then it was again a bit the role of a leader. Yeah, leading really in literally the team. But I'm absolutely grateful and happy they all find back in the self-organization, and that's great.
Very good. Thanks for sharing that. The other thing that I know, because we spoke before, which is I think very interesting to people, is your area is active citizenship at Robert Bosch, and I think that maybe perhaps if you could share. I wasn't even clear myself at what exactly that is. I think people would love to know what does active citizenship mean at Robert Bosch.
So this is an excellent question. Actually, I'm still not sure if I know what it means, because this is a new department, and we develop at the moment our strategy. But active citizenship means to enable a good living together, and for this we need active citizens, active to take part in decision making, to take part in the society, and we focus on two topic areas: democracy, but democracy in participation in these things and skills, and the question of the immigration society. So Germany, as well as Canada, is a country for immigration. You in Canada, you are for a long time aware of this. We denied this in Germany. We always looked on people coming to Germany for working, for studying, or as refugees, that they have to be integrated. And we try to have a more holistic approach, to have a look on the people coming to a country, but also to what we call the host society, the society in Germany, which is extremely diverse. More than a quarter of the people in Germany already has a non-German background.
Well, so that's super interesting. And, also that makes me think, so the context for what you described must be very different today. I mean, you've got, the whole world of movement of refugees, newer people to Germany, as in Canada and other countries, kind of come to a stop. And, the role of, the voice for people who are there, and this, in terms of active citizenship, and what people are saying and thinking about is obviously shifted a huge amount in a very short time. And I don't know if you've had a chance there at the foundation to process this. How is this reflecting, what you're doing there, or what you will do, as far as you know?
Do you mean the high number of refugees coming to Germany in the last 3 years, or the situation now under COVID-19?
I would say right now. I mean, you've had this active citizenship, focus there, and it sounds to me like the context for active citizenship today is very different than it would have been a few months ago.
Exactly. Because of that, I'm working for this foundation almost, or even longer than 20 years, and we saw a lot of crisis in special topic areas: the financial and economic crisis 10 years ago or 12 years ago, crisis in a political system change in some countries we are active, or a health crisis, or these things. But this is a complete, overall, all-inclusive crisis, and it's not only somewhere in Germany, somewhere in Europe, it's right with us. And this is completely new. And actually, I would call it, and this is, everything is on hold. And we are working in a way like poking around in the fog. Yeah. So it's, you can't, still not after 3 months, you can't foresee which will be the influence of COVID-19 and the corona pandemic on society in Germany, in Europe, or on special topics. Yeah. So maybe this is, it's for good for us that we are developing our strategy, and we will implement it only by the end of the year. Hopefully then we have more insights or more experience about the post-COVID area.
And and during this time, I mean, I imagine you're supporting these various projects and important projects. What's the dialogue between you and your team and the people who are running these projects? They must be concerned about where it's all going. There's organizations and projects that are dependent on funding from your organization. What does that look like?
Actually, the biggest challenge was at the very beginning. of the crisis, because the numbers, also the media, painted a picture of a catastrophe. Just looking on Germany maybe now at the moment, also for civil society organizations. And of course, although our funder, Robert Bosch, asked us for the elevation of all kinds of hardship, we are not an emergency relief or basic structural support foundation. Yeah, so, but a lot of partners ask us, and we had to make a very fast decision how to act. And we decided that we will focus exclusively on the existing partnerships and the running projects. Yes, we give some emergency relief funding for the international organizations concerning migrants, especially in healthcare. But you know, this was more a gesture than a real impact activity. And we decided this was a very hard cut. I have to admit, but we decided with the team to go in a direct dialogue with all our grantees and with the programs and discuss with them what we could do. And as a first activity, we decided to make as far as possible, German law is a bit different and difficult, the grants unrestricted or almost unrestricted. Yeah, to give the partners the security, you could use the money you already received from us or will receive in the next months, almost free. Yeah. But of course, there were some activities, and we had to discuss with the partners when it was clear that the project won't be able to realize. Right. Yeah. Even if we postponed it to next year, this was also an opportunity. Yeah. And then we had to discuss how to finish the project and to end it in a social responsible way. Right. Yeah.
And also, you know, I'd love to hear if it's possible to share, you know, an example or two, you know, a specific story you could share about perhaps one of the projects and how that's actually working, who that's with, what they're doing, and you know, perhaps how it's, you know, certain things I think we found are more relevant than others, some that are less relevant today. But what's something that you found that's working particularly well that you could share with us?
Actually, for us, the experience, because we are a very traditional foundation with a lot of rules and conditions, and to make the grants more or almost unconditional granting enabled a lot of partners to act, because there was a lot of emergency aid by the government and by other partners in Germany, and they could at least survive for some months until they received the governmental aid or the local governmental aid. So this was something very useful. We did it for the first time. Other foundations may smile about this because they are used of this, but we did it for the first time. And now we have, of course, discussions. Could this be also a tool for us for the future when we set up new projects, yeah, to make this much more free. But maybe a very funny story, a short story about really emergency aid was a concrete example. We have a fellowship program for African and Asian filmmakers, and they were in Germany. But then they weren't allowed to go home to their countries, and the flights were completely cut and postponed. And but their visa came to an end. Yeah, and also the grant by the foundation, the fellowship come to an end. So they went to the visa office and said, okay, we need a new visa for 3 months at least. And the visa office says, yeah, okay, please show me your proof that you have a flat and you prove that you have an income. Oh, we don't have, no, then you won't get it. This means they would become within 2 days illegal aliens in our country. And then we made a very fast decision, really a night and day decision, to give them additional grants. Yeah, and to make it also with the support of the bank and with the support of lots of people, that the money is really on their account, because only then the immigration office accepted this. Yeah. So this is a small example of emergency aid we did.
Thanks, Jerry. I want to come back to that because I'm also very curious about the role of different sectors there. You mentioned government, so on, and the financials. But we have a question here from Aditya, who asks, what do you think is the best solution of care for migrants living in relief camps if the pandemic spreads there? If you have thought about that.
Actually, the best solution is simply to get them out of the camps.
Mm. Right.
Yeah, we don't have the influence as a foundation, the political influence to do this, but to get them out of the camps, because for separation, yeah, for also the opportunity for healthcare and all the sanity issues. So this is the first step. To bring them to a safe shelter, which is not guaranteed in the completely overcrowded camps, and which is also not guaranteed in the houses in the refugee housing in Germany. Even if there is a much better situation than at the Greek-Turkish border, still all the things of keeping social distancing and these things, separate washing rooms, and this is not possible there.
Right.
They weren't built for this, and this is something we should do. This is, of course, the immediate action we should take.
Thank you. Obviously, a complex situation is obviously an understatement, but it also comes back to me to what I was thinking about before, because there's clearly here in Canada, you've got and other countries around the world, but you've got the government stepping in and throwing literally tens of billions of dollars, various programs, small businesses, self-employed people, agriculture, and so on. And you've got organizations like businesses who are trying to act in the self-interest of their employees and do the right thing, and organizations like yours, funding organizations. And it's all happened very fast. One of the things that I feel like we've talked about for years is the importance of partnerships. I personally feel like there's a lot of talk about partnerships, but not that many actually really effective partnerships. But it seems to me like this could be an opportunity for actually more partnering. Can you tell us what's going on in Germany between the sectors there? Are you seeing real partnerships? Are people coming together to collaborate?
This is a very hard to answer question, because yes, I see some partnerships, maybe some more than we had before, but cross-sectoral partnerships was growing already before COVID-19. But I see a complete dominating strong government and state in our Western democracies, even in countries like Spain and Italy, which were really hit by the pandemic. Suddenly, governments are able to spend billions and trillions for society. They could deliver what people expected before, and they could act very fast for the first time. Yeah? Usually, the philanthropy sector is famous for being smaller in amount, but acting faster than the government. So, and this is something I see with some concerns. Yeah, because the other sectors, the businesses and philanthropy and the civil society are in no way in the lead. They're just behind always, and they lose in a way their importance. This is a very special situation we are in, I see. But on the other hand, it helps us maybe to reflect more on our own position and role we could play. And then talking about collaboration, I think it's much more important for civil society and philanthropic actors to show more solidarity and to cooperate more. I think we have a lack, at least in Europe. We have a lot of websites and we have a lot of initiatives presenting ideas, but there is no pooled funding of the big European foundations. No. There is no common activity except of signing letters or presenting their concerns. Okay, we are still in the eye of the storm, but this is something we should absolutely, we have to take out as lessons learned for the future.
I want to I think it's such an important, I want to come back to this. I also want to get to another question. So Grant has asked, how is the foundation helping to counter anti-immigration and right-wing sentiment? He says, can the proposed New Green Deal perhaps help? Is that do you have a role in that area at the foundation?
So yeah, so the anti-immigration and right-wing encountering the movements, encountering this is it's all about knowledge, skills, and cooperation. Yeah, so of course, so we focus on one hand on skills and trainings regarding anti-migration activities, but also on the practical cooperation. If you have migrants, and I'm not talking only about refugees. Yeah, we have a lot of migrants in Germany, as I told you. Refugees are the smaller number. Yeah, to make active collaborations of these underrepresented groups with the majority society or hosting society, and this encounter, this mutual learning is the best to do. Concerning the right-wing movements, yes, it's about, of course, training, civic education, but we have a special focus on social media. But we start. There are a lot of activities in Germany concerning this, and there are broad alliances, so they still already exist. But again, it's to strengthen, especially actors in the daily fight against these groups to enable them for this.
Thanks for sharing that. Just want to come back to what we were talking about a minute ago, which I think is super interesting. And it does seem like, from, as you said, the government has stepped in, in a way that we have never, I think in our lifetimes, never seen before. I think the same thing here in many other countries. But it sort of happens after a time where you've had a number of years of actually the government doing the opposite, here. And there's the rise of corporate social responsibility and social enterprises. And I think that, sort of skeptically, I would say that from what I've seen, the government's hope was that those private sector actors were going to take over a lot of the responsibility and funding of social change activities. And now we've seen it go back. Do you think there's a danger of the whole thing stepping back and that the private sector might now say, well, we don't need to do this anymore?
I hope this never will happen, but I think even state budgets, even in rich countries like Canada and Germany, will come to an end sooner or later, and I'm afraid sooner than later. Yeah, this is one thing. The other thing is that what we see at the moment by governmental activities mainly is not societal or social change. It is preserve. I think it's important also for us to learn that in some moments it is important to have a look on things you want to preserve in all these systemic change debates. Yeah, but what we see is preserving, and there are only few activities by governments, for example, regarding the Green Deal, making conditions for giving the money to for example, air companies like Air France in France, and some activities as well in Canada. We in Germany, we do quite the opposite. We want to pay extra additional money by the government if you buy a new car. And it's not an electric car; it could be a diesel. This is because we have the diesel industry. This is good for Bosch, for the company, and this is not bad for the foundation. Yeah, in a short-term perspective. But this is absolutely backwards. This is preserving, and this is not foresight for change.
Right. We don't have a lot of time left, sadly, but there's a couple of things I wanted to get in. One thing that you had mentioned to me before that really stuck with me, and you had talked about this situation requiring I believe you said, tolerance for complexity. And I thought that was super interesting. And it's a situation where clearly, because it's so complex and uncertain, planning for the future is very difficult. And I know the foundation was actually itself in the middle of its own plan, a new plan for the future, and had to change. But for the people who are listening here today, who are either on the granting side or grantees, and who are wondering about how to plan for the future and how to deal with complexity, what would you advise them to do?
I think maybe it sounds ridiculous, but I think it's important to have or to show serenity. Even in the eye of the storm. The serenity to make it's like the famous prayer by the German American priest Reinhold Niebuhr. Father, give me the courage to change things I could change, and the serenity to accept what can't be helped, and the insights to know the one from the other. It's a bit in this direction. At the moment, I think it's important, with all the complexity we have and the unforeseeable future or nearer future, not to forgive that the things we are working on, the global and local challenges, they are not going away. Climate change won't disappear. Conflicts won't disappear. Inequalities will be even bigger as a result of this. So everything is talking about the health system and the influence on the economy due to the pandemic, but all the other things are still there, and they are only could be solved with our common activities. So this means not to lose the aim you had before, and still keep this. I think this is the most important advice I could give at the moment, when you feel that everything is changing around you and you're uncertain about your own future. It's the same for us as a foundation. I told you that a lot of foundations relating to companies or relying to their endowments, they are fine at the moment, but they will have severe budget cuts in the next year. So we are only delayed to what happens in the civil society sector at the moment around us. So this is something we are now becoming aware of, and this means we have to take this into consideration when we plan for the future. But there is no reason to give up the aims you were convinced 2 months ago that they are the right aims.
So the other thing what you said makes me think of is one of the things that I think is most challenging and interesting now is that, so you've got a situation where we have to stay on mission, but I think that it feels like people are acting, see the need to act more quickly than they ever have, and stay on mission at the same time, and have really valid results. And I don't really know the answer to that, but it sounds, I think that there's an important thing for all of us to be thinking about. How do you act quickly in a way which is creating meaningful change?
This is this would be wonderful if you could act quickly and contribute also to the change you want to reach. And I hope that is something we could learn out of this also unique opportunity to learn from massive disruption. Frankly spoken, I have some concerns when I see the actions we have, but I think this is a common effort. And maybe it's now the time, after 2 or 3 months, we see that this crisis won't disappear so fast. And now it's maybe time to come back to normality, but back in a good sense, not backwards, but looking forwards.
Thank you, Marcus. We're out of time, but again, it's such a, this is the sort of most frustrating thing. I love these conversations and they go by so quickly, and I would just love to just keep chatting with you. But I really appreciate your time, first of all, and your insights and your contribution both before and now, and of course the work with you and your colleagues at Robert Bosch Stiftung. I mean, it's really valued everywhere. It's been a great insight to get a little bit of a picture into how you're thinking about things. Also, I just want to thank my great colleagues at Impact for, you know, sticking with the mission of change for good and helping to solve social problems. And wanted to just thank everybody here for participating and remind you that everyone here registered is going to receive a link, likely later today or tomorrow, with a link to our conversation that Marcus and I have had. So you can watch it, you can share it, you can do whatever you need with it. Also to say that next Thursday at the same time, we have a super interesting conversation with Manju Menon, who's she's the co-founder and CEO of an organization in India called New Socia, who designed CSR, large-scale CSR and social change programs in India, which is super interested in hearing her point of view, what's going on there, and get a sense of what they're doing differently today, how they're changing for good. So again, thank you, Marcus, and really appreciate everyone being here. And we look forward to seeing you again and to seeing everyone here next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you as well. And I hope next week you could play some music for the audience as well.
Yeah, I will.
Great.
I will
join as a participant.
There you go.
It's great.
Yes,
thank you.
Mentioned we're here in my little music studio, and we'll do something.
Great. Sounds great. Okay.
Thanks, Marcus.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.